Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from TheTechnicalTraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Chris, Bitcoin, what's the story there?
Sure. Well, Bitcoin, it's been under a lot of pressure since earlier this year in May when it was formed. It had a big breakdown in April and had a kind of a dead cat bounce, a consolidation pointing to lower prices, and we saw Bitcoin collapse all the way down to $30,000. It's been struggling. I think everyone was expecting it to have this V-shaped recovery and rebound, thinking it was just like a flood of orders kind of causing the market to crash. But it's really struggled. It's traded sideways with a lot of selling volume. Today we're down over 10%, broke below 30,000 and on heavy volume. And, the chart looks pretty bearish still. It's trying to find support here because back in January, this is a level where Bitcoin traded sideways for a month. There's a lot of volume around this 30,000 mark. If it doesn't hold, we're going all the way down to 16,000, potentially right back down to 11,000. It's going to completely unwind this mega rally that we saw over the past year from more or less 10,000 to 65,000. So it could catch a lot of people off guard, a lot of volatility. Charts are still pointing to lower prices, and this pattern here, it's going to take a long time for this to recover. But we have seen this exact type of bubble in Bitcoin 6 times in the past since 2010. We've seen it rally hundreds and hundreds of percent and then crash 75 to 90%, and then it usually takes a year to recover. And so that's what Bitcoin is most likely doing. Again, it's going to take a while for this damage to be resolved on the chart. Time will heal all wounds, and eventually it'll start another rally and potentially go up and hit 100,000, which everybody wants and has been talking about, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It could be a year plus out.
Could this be a case of massive manipulation so institutions can move in and buy it at a low price?
It could be. You know how the markets are. As soon as there's opportunity out there, the financial markets and the government's trying to get their hands around them and manipulate it. So, now there's futures on Bitcoin, and you look at the futures volume, there's a lot of selling pressure, so it's sucking the price down. For all you know, maybe they are manipulating it, running the price, flushing it down, so they can, institutions can get back in and then hype it up and make a fortune. It's tough to tell. Manipulation, cheaters, it's tough to figure all that stuff out, but, the price of the chart is, you just follow the pattern, you follow the volume, and they usually tell you what the bias is, to the upside, to the downside, or it doesn't matter. There's no clear direction. You just steer clear. And right now the bias is kind of sideways to dramatically lower. So I wouldn't be looking to get involved at this point until it can get back up above, $42,000. I think that would be a sign where it might actually be starting a new move to the upside.
One of the things people like about Bitcoin is it's not regulated. What people hate about Bitcoin is it's not regulated.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. There's some benefits to it. There's drawbacks. It's confusing, and there's no regulation. But now countries are kind of cutting people off. Like in China, you can't use it, own it, mine it. So there are regulations. A country can just come out and lop you off from having access to it in a blink of an eye. So as much as there might not be government or financial kind of rules in place, there's still definitely regulations of what the country is going to even allow you to do or own it or not. So it's not a free-floating thing, in my opinion. it can be banned in a heartbeat by one rule, and it can come out of nowhere, and you never know what country might be the next one to cut it off. Not saying that's going to happen, but it just goes to show that it can happen, and it is happening. So it's got some risks to it for sure.
All these people who thought Bitcoin was untraceable, well, the Colonial Pipeline hack, the FBI apparently recovered most of the Bitcoin that was sent in to get the pipeline released from the hack.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that, originally, I remember back when Bitcoin was just a couple dollars, and I remember somebody was on CNBC, they gave Maria Bartiromo an actual Bitcoin, a physical one, and I mean, it was pretty wild, and it felt like it was the dark net where people do bad things. You can barter and buy black market stuff. It seemed like one of those. I mean, I'm sure that's probably what it's still used for in a lot of cases. I mean, obviously it's not trackable. There's no taxes. That's kind of the key benefit, I would think, to a large group of people using it. But now that it's somewhat being limited by what countries can do it, and it's can be tracked, that really kind of puts really kind of screws it as that kind of an asset to do shady things with. So that, for all we know, could be part of the big unwinding in the price action that we've been seeing. But again, the charts have been pointing to this bubble popping, and this is a signature move that's happening for whatever reason. The charts are just kind of breaking down, and the momentum from the upside is gone right now.
Did the IRS bring in a regulation saying you had to report American Bitcoin transactions of $10,000 or more?
I think they did. I mean, I don't really follow it too closely, so I'm not sure if they have or not. But I did hear something about something like that, which to me is kind of like it's being regulated. So I mean, it's not a free floating asset anymore that you can dodge bullets and dodge taxes.
Do you think governments are going to start coming out with their own cryptocurrencies, hoping to take over from private ones like Bitcoin?
I think so. I mean, it would make sense. I would think. I mean, I don't know what the costs are to run a cryptocurrency. I would think it would be a heck of a lot cheaper than them having real currencies and paper and coins and all that stuff that goes with it. I could see the world going totally digital. I mean, none of us really use real, physical money now. I mean, it's so rare that everyone keeps some bills in their wallet in case you ever need it, but everything is tapped with your phone or your watch or your credit card. So I think there's a lot of talks about different countries and companies and governments coming out with it. I'm sure it's just around the corner. I don't know much about the blockchain. I mean, everyone says it's super powerful and protective, but I mean, all I seem to hear about are, all these networks being hacked and people's money being taken. So I guess if they know it can be secure and figure it all out, it's beyond my skill set to know much about that stuff. But if it becomes rock solid, then I could see it being a good currency.
Well, I've always had the attitude if humans invented it and said it was secure, some other human can invent a way to get around it.
Yeah.
What makes you smarter than everybody else? What's going on with the commodity market, metals like copper and iron ore?
Yeah, well, commodities have been on a tear. You look at copper. I mean, it went from $2 back early last year, and almost hit $5 this year. It's sold off quite a bit. It's back down to $4.25 or so. But overall, commodities have been on a tear, and we've seen a lot of strength. And I think a lot of it has to do with people thinking the U.S. dollar currency is going to weaken. A lot of it also has to do with, I think we're in the late stages of a bull market for equities. Who knows when this top is going to come in, but when commodities start to perform really well, when people start to move away from owning stocks and they start to accumulate physical commodities, that's typically the late stages of a bull market in stocks, and usually it's not going to be long before we see a bigger correction in equities, and we've seen that. We look at grains, you look at metals, oil, natural gas. I mean, they're all been moving up and up going higher. So to me, this is a sign that there's going to be some type of big shakeup in the markets. But I mean, this could still be months and months out. All the commodities are telling us is that this is a early warning sign that for some reason money is accumulating into the physical commodity assets and out of the digital stuff.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what's going on with gold and silver?
Well, gold and silver fell out of bed last week. They got hit real hard. The charts still look actually very bearish at this point. They are just holding their ground after collapsing last week, and it looks like there's still another substantial drop to the downside. I think we could see gold from where we are right now. I think we could see gold fall another 5.5%, 6%, which would bring us around to around 1680, potentially right down to 1650. Silver's got a pretty gnarly looking chart as well. It's primed and ready to fall to $24 an ounce, which will bring it back to the lows that we saw in March, also in January, and that would be, about a 7.5% drop, and that would bring both gold and silver, most likely the miners as well, back down to their lower end of their range, support levels, and then the markets are going to continue to work themselves out. And you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. That I was talking about how it looks like the U.S. dollar was ready to rally, and that metals have had a nice run, but they're all trading at resistance, and we're probably going to see the dollar pop. We're going to see the metals pull back, and this could take a couple of months to play out. And that's where we are right now. The dollar had a beautiful, huge pop. Metals have pulled back, and now we just need to let these markets work themselves out. I do think metals are going to go higher, but I think there's a bit more downside left. It's going to take a month or two to happen. And then I think we could be into potentially that big rally in precious metals that a lot of us are waiting for. But it's going to take its sweet time. The markets never move at the pace you want them to.
What's going on with palladium and platinum?
Yeah, if we take a look over at platinum's it got hit really hard. It came all the way back down to where to 1,050 an ounce, which happens to be a major support level, going back years on the chart, all the way back 2017. And that was a breakout level late last year where we saw it break above, and that's where it started a new bull market. So we saw platinum run up. It ran all the way up to 1,340 or 1,350. It's pulled all the way back down to this breakout zone. So this is a very, very important support level for platinum. And the nice thing is it dropped really quickly into this key support level. When something drops kind of on news or a very strong event to a support level, you typically get a nice strong bounce off it. So that's what we're just starting to see. It's actually trading up 2% today, while all the other metals are trading lower. When we look over at palladium, palladium really fell out of bed as well. It had a huge drop, a one-day drop. I mean, it fell 11% in one day, which goes to show how quickly sometimes these metals can just collapse. But it has fallen right to support as well, around the $2,500 an ounce, which is a major support level going back 2020. Many times this level was hit as resistance, and then we broke above it and rallied, and now we're above that level. So as we pull back to this 2,500, it's acting as support, and it's done so on this big sharp drop, and we are getting a bounce off this level. So I do think it's going to find some support here and try and hold its ground going forward.
What areas are doing really well right now?
Well, we're still seeing the energy, like the crude oil energy sector stocks do really well. If you look at like XOP, which is an ETF for the oil and natural gas exploration. They've been doing really well. The XLE, which is another energy sector as a whole ETF, they're holding up, and that's because we've seen crude oil and natural gas move higher. And I think a lot of that has to do with people are still expecting or experiencing the economy. I think it's slowly getting better in a majority of countries. Things are opening up. There's less masks being used. Products are still selling off the shelf. I mean, the retail sector is doing really well. XRT is an ETF for that. And I mean, everyone was thinking things were going to get really ugly, which they did to some extent, but things are starting to open up. Things are starting to feel a little more normal again for the first time in a long time. And that's got people thinking the economy is doing well. So we're seeing retail stores are up, that sector, and the energy sector, meaning transportation, travel's picking up. We're starting to get more international travel, borders opening, lightening loads on terms of for different countries with the restrictions when you land. There might be a delay. You just need to get tested, and lockdown kind of in terms of when you enter some of these countries. I know Canada's removing theirs in about a month from now. So if somebody flies into Canada, they just need to have their test saying that they're COVID-free, and then they can come into the country. Right now, if you were to come in, you have to do a 2-week lockdown. You're not allowed to leave your property. No one's allowed to go on your property either. So, we're a month away from that here in Canada, which is going to make a big difference as well.
Chris, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. Always a pleasure.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. If you have any questions for Chris or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're on Facebook. Find us on YouTube at Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.